Angela Rayner has developed a reputation for struggling to keep track of her own statements, often contradicting herself and stumbling over past remarks time and time again. She finds herself in difficult situations, unable to provide a clear or consistent response, and once again, she's been caught out. In today's video, we'll be reacting to a revealing clip from her live appearance on Sky News, where she was pressed on the issue of housing, specifically regarding the housing of migrants, under tough questioning. Rayner appeared to trip over her own words, struggling to reconcile her previous statements with her current stance. Unsurprisingly, she was swiftly called out on it. We'll be watching the interview, and we'll also discuss the farmers' tractor march in London, demanding urgent actions from the government. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more updates. Take a look at this.
Another element of this. On the present densities, you're going to add 3.4 million, or homes for 3.4 million people with your 1.5 million houses. On your own figures, we're also going to add to our population 2.5 million people over this same period. Are you content that more than 5 out of 7 new homes will go to immigrants?
Well, that's not the truth, and that's not the case.
That's what will happen.
Well, that's not the reality, because where the
2.5 million immigrants that are in Rachel Reeves' budget figures going to turn up? Where are they going to live?
Well, there's plenty of housing in the UK, but the houses, especially social
hang on. You can't, on the one hand, say we've got to build this 1.5 million houses, and then say there's plenty of housing already.
There is plenty of housing, Trevor, already, but there's not enough for the people that desperately need it. So the homes, especially under our affordable homes programme, which is social and affordable housing, they will be there for people who desperately need them, local people. We've already outlined how we're going to support veterans and people who are fleeing domestic violence.
Okay.
Councils need homes for people that are on the waiting list. I've already announced changes to the right to buy, making sure they
have this doesn't quite make sense.
So that we can deliver the houses they desperately need.
Deputy Prime Minister, doesn't quite make sense. You start the interview by telling me that there's a housing crisis. When I remind you that you have said yourselves as a government, we're going to need 2.5 million migrants. Some of them, by the way, people are going to build the houses. Suddenly, there's a lot of housing. Where are these people going to go?
Well, Trevor, first of all, when you say about building as well, the previous government did use migrant labour far too much instead of actually building skills here in the UK. I've announced £140 million for new construction hubs so that we can train people here to deliver those housing. So I don't accept that we're going to bring migrants in for that. We've always said that actually we need to skill our own people up. But equally, we need to build the homes that people need. Nobody's had a focus on social housing for a generation, and I'm going to build those homes because far too many people at the moment are waiting on council housing lists, and I've got to fix that.
I really wish we had more time.
Streamline planning. We just can't carry on like this. You know, we're not getting the development we need. We're not getting the houses we need. We've got 8 times average income for first-time buyers. People are priced out of getting a home, and I'm determined to change it. And Trevor, I've been underestimated quite a lot in my life, and I wouldn't allow the Prime Minister to put that target up there if I didn't think I could meet it. And I'm determined to do it because having a home is not just about a home, it's about security, it's about a job, it's about raising a family, and far too many people now can't do that.
There is never going to be any underestimation of Angela Rayner in this studio. So let's just start from this point. If we are talking in 4 years' time, can you guarantee you're going to be able to say, Trevor, I've done it?
I'm determined to make sure by the end of this Parliament that I meet that target. I hate failure, Trevor, and that target is my target, so I've got to deliver it. But it does mean that we're going to have to make real changes to the planning system. We've already put £5 billion next year into additional funding into housing, £500 million into affordable homes. There has to be lots of different parts of the system that works, and that includes, and I want to reassure people listening to this, infrastructure.
Well, I want to come to all that. Let's come to all that. And let's just deal with this lovely word that you've just used, streamlining.
Yes.
I see the Prime Minister this morning is saying that local councils will get more powers, but they will also have more responsibilities. And they are basically not to stand in the way. Does that streamlining mean that local councils are going to be more powerful as long as they do what you tell them?
Well, kind of in a way, yes. But it'll be part of a consultation with them. So, first of all, our national planning...
you're not going to consult... If you're telling them today, it's perfectly reasonable, you're the boss. If you're telling them today, we're consulting you, but at the end of the day, you're going to do what you tell you, what we tell you. That's a clear message from Angela Rayne.
So let me say it simply. I consulted on the National Planning Policy Framework from July when we were elected. Next week, I will be outlining that structure. So it'll be clarity from the centre. Mandatory targets for local councils mean they have to have a local plan, and that will be developed with local people. So therefore, the planning nationally with the local plan means that we all know what the strategy is, we all know where the development is going to be. There is no need then for things to be constantly clogged up in a system that is causing chaos. So people know where we're going and they know the destination, they've inputted into that process, and then we're going to deliver the homes we need.
Look, I get the rhetoric, but in the end, what happens when they say, OK, Angela, we love it, we love the plan, but you know what? We cannot build this number of houses in this place because we won't have it.
Be taken into account, but we can't have a situation where we have a desperate housing crisis and we can't resolve things like neutrality, which we believe we can, and making sure that we can make sure that nature's protected, but we can't have a situation where we can't build those houses. So there's mitigations you can make, but I cannot accept the situation as it stands currently.
So seriously, some of these regulations are going to go, as far as you're concerned. They've got to go.
They will be clarity to ensure that we don't see buildings stalled for years and years. And you will see that next week. We are being very punchy about it because we will build the homes that we desperately need.
You say you're being punchy, but this is not very Angela Rayne. Why can't you just say, look, guys, the newts, the black-legged kittiwakes, the bats, you're going to have to take second place to getting houses for people.
Well, I believe we can offset, look after them, but at the same time not stop building.
All right.
Because we can't have a situation where a newt's more protected than people who desperately need housing. What we need is a process which says protect the nature and wildlife, but not at the expense of us building the houses we need. We could do both.
What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. In some other news, farmers take over London. Minister explodes over government failures. Yesterday was a monumental day as farmers from across the country descended on London in a powerful demonstration demanding urgent action from the government, with their tractors blocking roads and their voices making headlines. The protests sent a clear message about the growing frustration within the agricultural sector, but the drama didn't end there. Following the protests, a heated parliamentary debate took place, focusing on the government's disastrous tax increases and the impact they're having on farmers and rural communities. Tensions ran high as one minister unleashed a furious outburst, calling out the shocking absence of the farming minister and multiple Labour MPs who failed to contribute to the debate, with livelihoods on the line. Their silence did not go unnoticed. Have a watch of this.
Thousands of farmers are once again rallying outside the gates of this building. Over the past 6 months, our farmers have repeatedly been told by this Labour government that their way of life is expendable, that their hard work, their sacrifice, their future can simply be priced up and taken away. So is it any wonder why our farmers have shown up in such vast numbers again today? And make no mistake, Mr. Chairman, it is not just our farmers outside these gates. Across the country, more than 148,000 people have signed the petition because they know, just as we do on these benches, that the family farm tax is wrong. It is vindictive and it must be scrapped now. So I use this opportunity whilst talking about the petition to thank the Honourable Member for South Norfolk for leading this petitions debate. But I have to say, Dr Murison, that I believe that he did a staunch disservice to those petitioners who put their faith in him to lead this debate by not actually forming any opinion based on the strong arguments that he absolutely communicated, but didn't form an opinion. just a mere spokesman, not using his opportunity in this debate to voice properly their concerns. And I must say, what an image for our farming community to take away from today's debate. Where on earth is the Secretary of State for DEFRA? We have the Shadow Secretary of State sat beside me. Where on earth is the Farming Minister? Absent. And what message does it send that the Labour Party have clearly filled the benches up on the other side of this House, but only 4 members of the Labour Party spoke in this debate, despite having an opportunity to voice their concerns in this petitions debate, which effectively is a 3-hour debate, of which, Mr Chairman, all 5 of them that spoke voted against scrapping the family farm tax when we brought the motion to the House last time. So this is probably one of the most important debates that we can have on this issue, but yet once again those with responsibility for rural areas and our farmers are missing in action. Indeed, Mr Chairman, there is Labour members on the other side of the House that have turned up but not even contributed in this debate, yet representing such vast, large rural constituencies. So where is this government that claims to be on the side of rural Britain? Because if they had actually visited some of their farming communities, they would know just how damaging their choice is to implement the family farm tax is on our farming community. They may have had some of the devastating conversations that I, and indeed many on this side of the House, have had, including the Shadow Secretary of State, have had on this issue. And I would like to go through and share some of them. Mr Chairman, just last week I was in Northamptonshire and I met George. George has worked on his farm all of his life, and he is nearly in his 80s. And he, right now, unfortunately, is extremely ill. He knows, through his diagnosis, that he hasn't got long to live, but he isn't sure right now, as I speak, if he'll live beyond April 26. He knows that should he pass away before April 26, his IHT bill will be 0. But if he passes away after April 26, his tax bill to his family will be well over £1 million, a debt which his family simply cannot sustain. Now, Mr Chairman, taking his own life was an option which was put forward to me. Mr Chairman, these are horrific choices, unthinkable amounts of pressure for any individuals or families to be put under, never mind some of the most vulnerable in our society, and I will give way.
Grateful to my honourable friend who's giving a very powerful speech. It's true that George was given no notice, was he? No ability to plan for this absolute and important impact on his life and everything he's worked for. But isn't it worse than that? Because explicitly he relied on a promise not to do this, and that makes it particularly unforgivable.
And I could not agree more. I will just answer this point before giving way. I cannot agree more with the point that has just been made by my right honourable friend, because what the electorate was sold was false promises in the run-up to the general election. They were specifically told that this Labour government would not change agricultural property relief, but that is exactly what they have done. So I will ask the Minister, how will he communicate with George? What does he tell George based on the promises that were given in the run-up to the general election? And will he acknowledge, for I can't believe how many times I have asked this, will the government commit to recording suicide statistics across the farming sector as we move closer to April 26? And if the Minister is so determined to carry on with his family farming death tax, will the Minister at least look at changing the abruptness of this tax's implementation to protect the most vulnerable in our farming community? It cannot just be right that this government is forcing people into these decisions to make. Mr Chairman, another point that has been made is that this tax also hits our next generation. The very young people that we need to be powering our industry forward to the future. So what did the Minister say to Gemma, the granddaughter of a lifelong farmer who has been forced to split up their family's farm, leaving their future in doubt? What does the Minister say to the thousands of young farmers up and down the country, indeed many of those who are right outside this building now, who are in similar situations because of this government's choices? Indeed, I spoke to a few of them outside before coming into this House. Indeed, these concerns have also been raised by the member, my right honourable member, the member for Dumfries and Galloway and East Hampshire in their contributions. And then there is the tenant farmers, Mr Speaker. Around a third of agricultural land is farmed by tenants. Just recently, I was speaking to Tom, a tenant farmer who stands to lose not only his livelihood, but also his family home, as his landlords scramble to reduce their IHT liability before April 26. The Tenant Farmers Association is already warning of the mass renegotiation of many agricultural tenancies ahead of the family farm tax kicking in. So for the tenant farmers, there is no protection because the government didn't see it fit to recognise their unique situation. So will the Minister recognise the injustice tenants like Tom are being exposed to through this government's choices and provide protections for those with tenancies? And for the whole agricultural sector, there has been many points made by members on this side of the House, including my honourable friend for Cheshire and Edelsbury, who has been talking about the wider implications on our food sector. And just last week, I was at the Yorkshire Agricultural Machinery Show, which I attended just last week, and met a tractor dealer, which is also a family business, that are struggling to stay afloat. And why? Because confidence is draining from the farming sector, and they are seeing orders for new tractors and machinery equipment significantly being reduced. And I will give way to the honourable member.
What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below, and make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel.